All right. Hi, Gary.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good, good. I am still getting the hang of this. So don't mind me. I'm just finding us. Okay, there we are.
Okay.
So I just want to, first of all, just thank you so much for joining us, Gary, for all of you who are watching from the comfort and safety of your own home. We are live with Gary McDonald, and he is the executive director of the Lighthouse Family Resource Center right here in Lincoln. And also, Gary's going to be sharing information with us today in regards to the 2020 census and why it's so important to get counted. So again, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, thank you.
And can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been in the nonprofit world probably about 15, 20 years now. I founded Feeding America San Diego, which is the food bank in San Diego County. I was the state director for Mothers Against Drunk Driving for the state of California. I ran a couple other food banks, one in Sacramento and one in Colorado Springs. I owned my own temporary nursing services in my earlier days, and I owned a restaurant for 6 years. So I've had some pretty broad experience, but I really enjoy working for nonprofits. It's a great way of giving back to society.
I completely agree. And you know, seeing the lighthouse in action in for such a quite a while, you know, and seeing even how you guys have been able to shift gears and still continue to serve the community has just been amazing. So we'll talk about that more in just a moment. But so tell us how you got connected with the 2020 census.
Well, it's really been a push by the Placer Community Foundation and other nonprofits in the area. It's really very important. Now, April 1st, April Fool's Day, which is tomorrow, is the official census day. But that's not to say that you can't already, I mean, you could have already filled out the census. It went live about March 15th or so. I've already filled out the census. So the big day is tomorrow, but you can have some time afterwards as well. It doesn't actually close until July 31st, but don't wait till the last minute because it's really, really important that everyone fill out the census. First of all, it's the law, and it's mandated by the U.S. Constitution that we do a census count of every person living in the United States every 10 years. So it is mandated by law that we all fill it out. And not only that, for every person that's not counted, well, let me back up for a second. This is how we allocate, or the federal government allocates funds, the tax money that we send into the government, that's how they allocate the funds back to the states and local communities. We're talking about $675 billion a year that are allocated back to the states, and they do it according to the number of people that live in the community, aka the census. So for every person not counted in Placer County, that will cost our county $1,000 for the next 10 years because the census happens every 10 years. So
Right.
$1,000 per person for 10 years, $10,000. Now, if you think about that, if there are 10 people that don't fill it out, and that's a very small number, there's 400,000 people that live in Placer County or close to that. So if 10 people don't fill it out, that's $100,000 that could go to our schools, to our roads, to senior programs, to different supplemental food assistance, highway construction, programs for the disabled. That's just 10 people. Now, 10 years ago, when we had the last census, 20% of the people in Placer County, about 20%, did not fill out the census. If we take that same percentage and apply it to this census this year, that's happening right now, if 80% fill it out and 20% do not, we're talking about $800 million that Placer County could lose out on for highways, for wildfire protection equipment, police officers, medical insurance assistance for low-income families, children's health insurance program, preschool education, school breakfast program, energy assistance for the elderly, homeland security, substance abuse treatments, crime victim assistance, farm loans, funding for women, infants, and children program, health care and senior centers, housing tax credits, business loans, and that's just a small percentage of the items that it actually funds, that the census will fund. So,
Right.
and that's an incredible amount of money that we could potentially lose.
So what percentage of people historically is it estimated have maybe failed to complete the census, or are there statistics surrounding that?
Well, I don't know nationwide, but from what I've heard about Placer County, it's about it was actually 10 years ago, it was 81% of the people filled it out. And actually that was good compared to some other counties. Other counties were in the 70%. So almost 25% of the people in counties, possibly across the United States, did not fill out the census.
Oh my.
Now, part of the issue is people are afraid to fill out the census or they don't understand the census, but all of the information is kept 100% confidential. It's protected by Title 13 of the U.S. Constitution. The information cannot be used by law enforcement, cannot be used by the CIA, it cannot be used by U.S. Immigration, or also known as ICE, it cannot be used by Homeland Security. In other words, it is only used to figure out how many people live in a particular area so they can allocate the money to these counties. And also it determines how many legislators we have in a particular area. Now, to talk about, I read something recently that Texas is growing so fast that they expect this census in Texas that they're actually going to gain representatives. So, congressional representatives will be increased in Texas. Now, I've also heard in California, because we've lost some people because California is difficult to afford to live in California, that the number of legislators representing California in the U.S. Congress will probably go down. Now, so it's even more important that we make sure that we count as many people as we possibly can in California. So basically, it determines how many representatives we have in the U.S. House of Representatives, U.S. Congress.
Yeah, it sounds like go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just
going
to
say that they also redistrict according to the shifts in population.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe Roseville is growing and some other areas are decreasing, so they will redistrict the areas and they'll match up the representation to the redistricting, which redistricting is very important.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of positive reasons, and maybe some misinformation would be the only reason that someone would hesitate to complete the census. And guys, for those of you that are watching live, because we're on Zoom, I actually have the ability to see your comments and questions. So feel free to chime in with any comments or questions that you have. It looks like, we've got one share notated. So, but if you do have any questions, comments, and you'd like to chime in, we certainly would love your interaction as well.
I think that the biggest fear of undocumented people is that this information is going to somehow cause them either to get deported, arrested, or they will not be able to access resources such as CalFresh or any other governmental supplemental programs if they fill out the census, and that's absolutely not correct. If you're undocumented, you still need to fill it out because you're living in the United States, and that ICE cannot find you, ICE cannot use this information against you. So whether you're documented or undocumented, you need to fill it out. There are no sensitive questions on the census. I filled it out already. They do not ask for your Social Security number. They do not ask if you're documented or undocumented. It's basically 9 questions and a few more for each person living in the house. From what I can remember, they ask you how many people, they ask for the birth date, and it automatically calculates the age of that person. and then it asks you your ethnicity and your race, which I had to kind of look that up because it was kind of, that was the only part that was confusing for me on the census is filling it out for me, it was easy. Caucasian and white was the ethnicity and the race, but for my wife, she was born in Mexico, so the, I forget, I had it out here somewhere, here it is. So the Census Bureau defines race as a person's self-identification with one or more social groups. So race would be white, black, African American, Asian, American Indian, Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander, or multiple races. Now, ethnicity, they broke it into Hispanic or Latino, or not Hispanic or Latino. And then Hispanics may report as any race. So when I was filling it out for my wife, since she's Hispanic, obviously, I was trying to match up her her race, and we thought the closest one was Aztec, because she, you know, we did 23andMe, and we knew that her part of her DNA goes back to the Aztecs, early indigenous people in Mexico. So that's how I answered that particular question. But that was the only one that was confusing for me. But otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. Also, if you're not sure whether, let's say there's a husband and wife and they have 2 children, but they're divorced, and they have 2 separate households, whoever has those children on April 1st, and if you're not sure if the husband or wife's going to do it, then it doesn't matter. Double count them because they'll figure it out. It's better to double count them and they'll figure it out than to not count them at all. Because, again, 2 people is $20,000 that Placer County will not get.
Got it. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it sounds like there's a really good system in place. And so it's very straightforward, not too complicated. And, you know, I know now that there's also the ability to fill out the census online, right?
Right. That's exactly right. Generally, the way that it works is you probably have already received a card or a couple letters, multiple mailings that you'll get. And in those mailings, there'll be I think it's a 16-digit number, if I remember correctly, and you log on to, is it my2020census.gov? Anyway, what you do is you log on to the website, and you fill in those numbers, and it'll populate with your address, and then you can just go ahead and fill it out. It's actually very easy. Now, if you don't fill it out by April 1st, sooner or later, they're going to send you another reminder, and then they're going to send you the paper version. So if you've not filled it out online, it's always better to fill it out online, but if you don't, they're going to send you a piece of paper, and then you can fill it out in paper, and then you have to mail it in, which I think is being online is so much easier. But if, let's say, you don't have access to the internet, that for whatever reason, then you will get a paper census in the mail. And then, but if you don't fill that out, let's say you don't want to be bothered. Let's say you're fearful of some reason, maybe you're wanted by the law, and you don't fill it out. Well, it's actually better you fill it out, because if you don't fill it out, there's going to be enumerators knocking on your door asking you to fill out the census. So if you have this idea that you're not going to be bothered, you will be bothered. They are sending people out to go knocking on doors to have people fill out the census. Again, it doesn't matter if you're wanted by the law or you're undocumented. You need to be counted, first of all, and then second of all, they can't use the information against you in any way whatsoever.
So fill it out so that people don't come knocking on your door. It's the best way.
Yeah, do it. It's good for the community.
Yeah.
And again, there's so many different avenues in which this money funds programs for the needy, for the elderly. I mean, we're all going to be elderly sooner or later, and we want these programs for our seniors, for our parents, or for ourselves if we're getting older, and also for our children. I mean, this funds Head Start, this funds preschool, this funds schools, it funds our fire department, our police department. It fixes our roads. It gives us new highways. I mean, everybody complains about traffic in Placer County. Well, do something about it. Fill out the census, and by filling out the census, you're doing something about the traffic problem in Placer County.
That's all great information, Gary. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm just peeking over my screen, don't mind me, looking to see if we have any additional comments that we could address. Nope, just a couple shares. So before we wrap up this portion of our address in regards to the census,
You froze up a little, so I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
no, I was just saying, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about what the lighthouse is doing to continue to serve our community through, you know, the current state of affairs. But I just wanted to make sure there was nothing that we hadn't addressed in regards to the census discussion prior to doing that.
No, just that it's really, really important. I mean, this is a lot of money that we're talking about, and there's no reason to fear filling it out. And it is simple. It is not difficult. Again, the most difficult question was the difference between race and ethnicity, but even if you get that a little wrong or you're not sure, it doesn't matter. You can put down not sure, I think. I think that's one of the categories. So it's really important that everyone fills it out, and that's pretty much it. So. And with Lighthouse, with the coronavirus epidemic or pandemic rather,
Yeah.
You know, we saw it coming. We saw it in Italy and France, and it was making its way to the United States and New York, and now we've become the epicenter of the world with New York having the most deaths and the most active cases, and it's hit Placer County. Placer County, we're over 30 active cases. I haven't seen the number today, but it's over 30. We've had 2 deaths in Placer County. This is very serious that people not go out, stay at home as much as possible, and not venture out. I'm actually at the office, but I'm the only one here, so I'm not infecting anyone. But it's really important that we limit our contact with other people, and if we do have some contact, make sure that you stay at least 6 feet away from them. And then, you know, check on your neighbors, check on your loved ones, give them a call. Now, in terms of Lighthouse, we saw this coming, and we were very proactive, and we knew that we needed to transition to working remotely, so we were prepared. We went out and bought the equipment to do that, so all of our staff have the capability of Skyping or using Zoom or whatever they're using to see their clients. We're very proud that 95% of the people that we have been counseling have now transitioned to counseling remotely with our staff working from home. We are answering our phone, our main line, which is 916-645-3300, 645-3300. That number is transitioning to our bilingual receptionist, so it's transferring to her cell phone, and she's answering on her cell phone. She speaks English and Spanish. And we're working with the FRC, our Family Resource Center specialists. They're making appointments over the phone, and we're actually in the process of delivering diapers to families that don't have enough diapers, that don't have the funds for diapers. And we're also have a few gift cards that we're delivering to families so that they can go out and get gas or get some food at the store. We have some Safeway gift cards. I don't know how long they're going to last, but we are doing everything we can to continue to serve our clients as best we can. We're calling everyone in our database, which is thousands of people, and just doing a health check with them to make sure that they're doing okay and to see if they have any needs. So not only our active clients are we calling, we're calling all of our inactive clients to see if there's anything we can do for them. So we're basically functioning as if we were open in our offices. We're just doing it all remotely.
That is just wonderful. And, you know, I know that with the kids home and with people out of work, you know, there's quite the need, and it just continues to grow. So I really thank you for everything that the Lighthouse just continues to do to serve the community. And if somebody were interested in donating to the diaper bank or helping to fund gift cards and things like that, how would they go about donating?
That's a great question. Now, we did send out an email. It went out through the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce. So if anybody gets an email from the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, it basically, we're doing a gift card drive and a diaper drive as we speak. And as you mentioned, you make a good point that we are part of the National Diaper Bank. So we normally do get diapers. We have companies doing drives for us throughout the year for diapers. Obviously, they're not doing the drives now because no one is or should be working from home remotely. But if anybody has diapers or want to contribute gift cards, log on to that email, or maybe you can log on to our website and make a contribution. Rather than delivering diapers and leaving your home, if you want to go on and make a contribution, we are, as much as possible, helping families with their rent and utility assistance as well. So we're turning our donations into assistance for our clients so that they can help pay their rent and pay their utilities as much as possible. So go online, lighthousefrc.org, www.lighthousefrc, which stands for Family Resource Center.org, lighthousefrc.org.
Thank you. You cut out for a moment, so thank you for repeating.
Oh, sure.
And so, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you wanted to touch upon before we wrap up today and talk about the raffle?
I think it's really important that we realize that we're all in this together. It's like no one is out there by themselves. So if anybody is feeling outside, without support, and they need someone to talk to, or they want to talk to a counselor, or we generally have a wait list for counselors, but if somebody's in critical need, you're not alone. Hopefully Lighthouse can help you, but there's other nonprofits that are out there. Make sure that you reach out to someone, reach out to a neighbor, reach out to a loved one. If there's anyone that has needs, we're not alone. We're in this together. So let's keep that in mind and help each other as much as possible.
Absolutely. No, and I thank you, again, for just really continuing to, you have such a heart for service, and it really shines through. And so that's just awesome.
Oh, thank you, Mitzi. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you.
So let's talk about the raffle. So I'm surprised. I don't even know what we're doing. What are we doing?
Well, we had an open house a while back, and we served wine and beer, and so it was sponsored by a corporation, and so we are in new offices. We're in 110 Gateway Center, so we were very happy our offices are very professional, and once we're back and operating out of our office, we'd love to have people give tours. We give tours all the time to people that want to see our offices. But we have a bottle of wine left over from the open house, and so I'm just not sure how I would get it to that person or get it to you, but we have a bottle of wine that we'd be more than happy to give to one of your listeners.
Okay, great. Well, you guys know how this works. You're going to share this live video. You're going to comment shared in the comments below, and then we will stop the entries tomorrow at noon, and then we'll go ahead and determine a winner. We are a little behind in our raffles. That's just par for the course, with everything going on. So I've got to take a special trip into the office and kind of get caught up there. Again, no one else is in my suite, just me. So I'll be able to safely do that. But yeah, so a bottle of wine on behalf of the Lighthouse, and we really appreciate you guys all watching. It's so Jessica Lee, Terry Moore, and C. Jane Run, Lincoln Urgent Care is watching. Thank you both for your amazing community support. Melissa Saldivar, lots of shares, and just people that just want to let you know they're here and they appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me know how I can get the wine to you when things settle down.
Yep, you got it. And thank you guys for joining us. Everyone stay safe. We're all in this together. I think today's day 17, but who's counting? I don't know. First day I did a full face of makeup even. Didn't even know I'd remember if I'd remember how to do it quite right. Anyway, but you guys stay safe, and please do reach out if you have any needs, and we'll help you get plugged in as needed. So thank you, Gary, for your time. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Mitzi. Take care.
Okay, you too. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.